And the final stories that we're going to cover here on Global Government News will be about the economy. And the first article that I have here is titled "The Economists Predict Greece Will Default in August." And it says Greece will eventually default on its debt because the country is highly indebted. Carl Weinberg, chief economist at High Frequency Economics, said on CNBC this morning, this was from June 11th, 2010, a restructuring of Greek debt could happen as soon as August, when Greece is due to receive another tranche of funds from its lending agreement with the IMF, or the International Monetary Fund, and the European Union, according to Weinberg. It says you can't take a country that's over-borrowed and make it more creditworthy by lending it more money. They're throwing Greece further and further and further in the hole by not addressing the problem directly and properly. And so when you go back and I look at another article, well, just saying, I just want to throw it out there that Greece, they had people from Goldman Sachs who were working there, managing their loans and their debts within it's about 4 or 5 years ago, and then they had someone that is a former Goldman Sachs employee become their debt crisis management representative. So the person who helped cause the crisis, the debt crisis, is the person, the group that's going to come in there and fix the problem and help them. So good luck to you, Greece. I don't think you guys are going to get much help, but we'll see. The other thing is, and that is another scary country, which is just Japan. And this article is titled "New Japan Prime Minister Warns Country May Default." So another country that's going to default. It says, and this is from June 11th, 2010, from the Business Insider, and it says, when he was Japan's finance minister, I'm not sure if I'm going to pronounce this right, but Naoto Kan advocated loose monetary policy to end 2 decades of deflation. But since his sudden promotion to prime minister, Kan has been crying out about public debt levels. Today, he even used the signal word for austerity, which is being spoken of in Germany as well right now. Austerity. Our country's outstanding public debt is huge. Our public finances have become the worst of any developed country. We cannot sustain public finance that overly relies on issuing bonds. As we can see from the Eurozone confusion that started in Greece, there is a risk of default if growing public debt is neglected and trust lost in the bond market. And the same thing is going to happen in the U.S. eventually, because we just keep spending money and spending money and spending money and spending money, and it's not like we ever spend money that we actually have, right? That physically exists. They're spending money that does not exist, and they're spending money that is going to be paid off by people who aren't even alive. So the people that are born in the next 20 years are going to start paying. They're going to be paying for the bailout, And that's how these criminals are able to get away with all this stuff, because they're doing it on the backs of people who aren't even born yet, which is just outright wrong. And like Stefan Molyneux says, when you talk about the deficit, it's not your responsibility. You didn't do it. You didn't ask for a bailout. You didn't sign on to all this, $800 billion, $646 billion defense spending bill for what was it, this year? But we don't have any say. Our representatives don't represent us. And if you don't believe in a government and you're born into a state, you get a birth certificate, a number that you pay Social Security to, and you pay income taxes to, and all that other good stuff, and get your driver's license issued. You don't have any choice, unless, the only other choice is to become a freeman. And, good luck with that, because you're going to end up spending half your life in court, and you're going to end up being broke and not having any money and being stressed out, because you're going to have to be in court all the time, facing fines and court fees and jail time, and just having people on your back all the time for trying to be free and not be a part of this system. So I salute you for anybody that attempts that and tries that. But Yeah, because it just sucks because we don't really have a choice, you know. You're kind of spit out of your mother's womb, and all of a sudden you gotta pay so much amount of money that you didn't even spend, just because you're squeezed into this thing called a country or a state or nation statehood, and you're a citizen. But now you're a citizen not just of the nation where you pay taxes, but now you're a citizen of the world. You're a global citizen in a global village. And so now you will pay carbon taxes on top of your federal income tax and your state income tax and your property tax and your sales tax and your gas tax. You're going to pay a carbon tax, and that will go directly to the bankers and the IMF and the World Bank, which will then issue that money in the form of a loan to a third world country, who then will default on the loan. And of course, we are the ones that supply the money. 50% of the funds that go to the IMF that go to third world countries, who they know will default on the loan. And then so they not only get our money, but then they get all the property and resources and just a lifetime of payments from the defaulted country, who will pay interest in their generation, and the generations to come will pay interest on that. And so that's what it is. It's just a modern form of feudalism that we got going on here, and it's not so much actually owning all the wealth in the world or owning all the property. It's just about owning assets. And we, as humans on this prison planet, are nothing more than assets. We are objects, and we're accounts. So you need to look at it from that standpoint, that we're nothing but accounts, and as long as we are citizens of a country, we will be slaves, and we will never be free, truly free. We may have liberty, which is nothing more than a glorified word for living under a government, and the government allowing you certain things, allowing certain freedoms. They're allowing you to do certain things. That's what liberty is. Liberty isn't truly freedom. It's just a patriotic bullshit word that you hear from people like Alex Jones and Republicans. And like I said, I'm not liberal, and I was considering myself conservative because I figured out the whole left-right paradigm thing, and now I'm just sick of it, and I'm sick of it all. I'm sick of calling myself conservative, because then you just get lumped into the whole Republican group, the Tea Party group, and even if you're a conservative, you're still saying, I support government. I support the need, the desire by my fellow man and women to be governed by a bureaucracy. And so I don't really believe in that anymore. And I haven't believed in that for the last couple of years, but I didn't want to inject that into my videos, because it probably just divides people up even more. So yeah, I'm just finishing up this show here, and I just wanted to give you my kind of take on the BP spill, and a little bit of stuff that's popping in Central Asia, which, like I said, just we'll see what happens with that. Of course, we had in Iraq today, 15 people killed. The Iraq Central Bank was hit up today, and so just another little false flag, or something like something similar to that. But we also talked about the economy, Japan and Greece possibly defaulting. And lastly, I just want to talk about the unemployment